Welcome to Big Daddy Storytime. We're reading Thomas and Friends, Annual 2003. Thomas and Trevor. Trevor is an old traction engine. He was going to be sent to the scrap yard, but Edward helped to rescue him. The vicar agreed to take him, and now Trevor lives in the orchard at the vicarage. Edward goes to see him every day. Trevor likes to work hard. There isn't always enough work for me to do here, he told Edward one day. I do like to keep busy, you know. I like it when there are a lot of people around, especially children. Then this is your lucky day, said Edward. The Fat Controller has some work for you to do at the new harbor. Trevor looked very pleased. Oh, good, he said. A harbor, the seaside, and lots of children to meet. It'll be lovely. Thomas passed by on his way to the harbor. He was taking a trainload of metal bars that the workmen needed to make the new wall strong and safe. Hello, Thomas, said Edward. This is a friend of mine. His name is Trevor, and he's a special kind of engine. He's a traction engine. A what engine? Asked Thomas. A traction engine. I'm a traction engine, explained Trevor. I'm a steam engine, like you, but I run on roads instead of rails. Can you take me to the harbor? The Fat Controller has a job for me to do there. Yes, of course I can, said Thomas. Come on. When the workmen had coupled Trevor's truck to Thomas's train, they were ready to go. I'm very glad the Fat Controller needs me today, said Trevor. I don't have enough to do sometimes, and I get a bit fed up. I can work anywhere, you know, Thomas, in the orchard or on the farm, and I can work in scrap yards too, and even at the harbor. Thomas still a bit puzzled. But you don't run on rails, do you? He puffed. I don't need rails to be useful, said Trevor. I'll show you when we get there. You wait and see, said Trevor. When they got to the harbor, they found everything in a mess. Some trucks had come off the rails. They were blocking the line, and there were big slabs of stone lying everywhere. What are we going to do? said Thomas's driver. We must get these metal bars to the men. They need them. He turned to Trevor. Can you drag them around all this mess? He asked. Oh, yes, said Trevor. This is just the kind of job I like doing. Watch, Thomas, and I'll show you what traction engines can do. Trevor worked very hard. Chains were attached to the heavy metal bars, and he dragged them off the track. Then he pulled them to where the workmen were waiting. He was very happy. Who needs rails? He said cheerfully. Not me. Later on, Thomas brought his coaches Annie and Clarabelle to meet Edward. Thomas told them what Trevor had done. He did a really good job, Thomas told them. Now I understand just how useful a traction engine can be. Annie and Clarabelle had lots of children aboard. The boys and girls were very pleased to see Trevor, and he gave them rides around the harbor. This is even better than being useful, said Trevor. It's fun. Annie liked Trevor. He's very kind, isn't he? She said. Yes, said Clarabelle. He reminds me of Thomas. When it was time for Trevor to go home, Thomas pulled him to the junction. Trevor looked sad to be leaving, but Thomas gave him a cheerful whistle, "Hoo hoo," to make him feel better. I'll come to see you when I can, he says, and I'll bring Annie and Clarabelle with me. I know that the vicar will look after you, and there's sure to be plenty of work for you to do in the orchard, and we may need your help down at the harbor again soon. Oh, that would be lovely, said Trevor. That night, Trevor was back in his shed at the bottom of the orchard. Just before he went to sleep, he thought about what a very happy day he had had with his new friends, Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle, and all the children. Good night, Trevor. What have we learned today, my friends? We learned from Thomas and Trevor that being a friend and showing kindness is important. Have a fun day, my friends. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more Big Daddy Storytime. God bless.